The clatter of trays and the hum of voices filled the mess hall that morning. Soldiers shuffled in line, shoulders heavy with the exhaustion of training, deployment, and life far away from home. The smell of eggs, biscuits, and coffee floated through the air, wrapping the room in the familiar comfort of routine. At the serving line stood Corporal Emily Carter, wearing a hairnet and a standard-issue apron. She was quiet, deliberate, and unnoticed by most, just another face behind the steam trays, scooping scrambled eggs with practiced movements. To them, she was the cook. To her, this was where she found peace, serving others, keeping her head down, and staying out of trouble. But Emily wasn't really supposed to be here. Her official posting wasn't food service. She had volunteered, traded shifts, begged favors, just to stay in the background of the mess hall that week. Because the less attention on her, the better. She carried a secret, one that lay inked permanently into her skin and etched even deeper into her past. That secret was about to change everything. The general walks in. The chatter died down slightly as a man in crisp uniform entered the mess hall. His presence was enough to shift the air. He wasn't just another officer. He was General Raymond Harlan, a man with decades of service, respected and feared in equal measure. Even the most seasoned soldiers straightened in their seats when he walked by. Emily froze the second she saw him. Her hand tightened around the serving spoon, but she forced herself to keep moving, scooping food onto trays as though nothing was wrong. She lowered her gaze, hoping he wouldn't notice her, hoping he'd simply pass through the line, grab his coffee, and sit with the other officers. But fate didn't work that way. General Harlan picked up a tray and stepped into her line. Emily's heart thudded against her ribs. Her palms grew slick with sweat beneath the thin plastic gloves. She prayed he would look past her, just another young soldier working the mess line. But as she handed him a plate, his eyes narrowed. They didn't lock onto her face. They dropped lower, to her wrist. To the tattoo that shouldn't exist. The tray shook in the general's hands. A full mug of coffee sloshed over the side, dripping down onto his perfectly polished boots. The room went silent. Every soldier within earshot turned their heads, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Generals didn't fumble trays. Generals didn't stop in their tracks, eyes wide, lips parting like they'd seen a ghost. But that's exactly what had happened. Emily's sleeve had slipped just far enough to reveal a fragment of ink etched into her skin. Not the kind of tattoo most young soldiers had. No eagle, no unit crest, no fading memory of a lost friend. This one was different. It was a symbol, a small, intricate mark, sharp-edged and deliberate. The kind of tattoo you couldn't just walk into a shop and get. The kind of tattoo you had to earn. And the general knew it. His tray clattered onto the counter, scrambled eggs scattering like shrapnel. Coffee splashed across the floor. Emily flinched. Her instinct screamed to pull her sleeve down, to hide it, but it was too late. His voice thundered before she could react. "Where did you get that?" A past no one knew. The mess hall froze. Conversations died. Forks paused halfway to mouths. Soldiers leaned forward, sensing something they didn't understand. Emily's throat went dry. The old instinct to deny, to disappear, rose up, but there was no escaping those eyes. General Harlan wasn't just curious. He was shaken, and he wasn't letting her walk away. "Answer me, Corporal," he pressed, his voice low now, controlled, but charged with something heavy. Emily set down the serving spoon, her hands trembling. She swallowed hard, her lips barely moving. "I earned it, sir." The words came out steady, but her body screamed otherwise. Her legs wanted to run. Her heart wanted to burst. The general stared at her for a long moment, then turned to the soldiers watching like a captivated audience. "Clear the room," he barked. Chairs screeched. Boots shuffled. Confusion buzzed through the air as soldiers hurriedly gathered their trays and exited, whispering under their breath. Within minutes, the mess hall was empty, except for Emily, the general, and two guards who lingered near the door. Harlan gestured sharply. "You, with me." Behind closed doors. They moved down a quiet corridor, the general's stride sharp and deliberate, Emily trailing behind like a prisoner being marched to judgment. He didn't speak until they entered a briefing room. He shut the door with a decisive click and turned on her. "That tattoo," he said, his voice carrying the weight of years. "Do you even know what it means?" Emily lifted her sleeve fully now, revealing the mark in its entirety. The black ink glared against her pale skin. "I know exactly what it means," she said quietly. "Because I earned it." Harlan's jaw tightened. "That's impossible. That symbol belongs to Phantom Unit 7. They don't exist. Officially, they never existed." Emily met his eyes, unflinching now. "I know. Because I was there. The general's ghosts." The words hit him like a blow. His breath caught, and for a moment, the hard facade of the seasoned general cracked. His eyes darted, as though chasing old memories he had locked away long ago. Phantom Unit 7 wasn't supposed to be spoken of. They were a myth whispered about in the corners of military lore, a classified strike team so effective, so ruthless, that they were erased from records to protect international relations. A unit that only a handful of generals even knew existed. And now, standing before him, was a corporal from the mess hall claiming she had been one of them. But it wasn't just the tattoo that convinced him. It was the look in her eyes, the haunted steel of someone who had seen too much, done too much, and carried it alone. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Who trained you?" Emily's breath caught. Names wanted to rise to her lips, names she hadn't spoken in years. Faces flickered through her mind. But she shook her head. "They're gone," she whispered. "All of them. I'm the only one left." The weight of kindness. For the first time, silence stretched between them. Not the silence of authority, but of two souls carrying the same kind of burden. Finally, the general sat, his voice softer now. "Why here? Why the mess hall?" Emily let out a shaky laugh. "Because feeding people is easier than killing them." Her words hung in the air, heavy but human. Harlan studied her, then leaned back slowly. The weight of years sat on his shoulders, but in that moment, he looked not like a general, but like a man, one who recognized the cost of service. "You should have been recognized," he murmured. "Decorated, not hiding behind a food line." Emily shook her head. "Recognition doesn't bring back the ones we lost. I just wanted peace. Serving here, giving someone a warm meal, it makes me feel like I'm still doing good." Her voice cracked, but she held his gaze. And for the first time in decades, General Harlan felt his chest tighten, not from anger, not from pride, but from compassion. An unlikely understanding. The door creaked open slightly, a guard peeking in for orders. The general raised a hand, waving him away. Then he stood, straightened his uniform, and walked toward Emily. "I can't change what happened," he said quietly. "But I can promise you this, your service will not be forgotten, not by me." Her eyes glistened, though no tears fell. She gave a faint nod, pulling her sleeve back down, tucking the past away once more. But something had shifted. The general extended his hand, not as a superior to a subordinate, but as one soldier to another. She hesitated, then took it. And in that brief grip, years of silence, secrecy, and pain found a flicker of acknowledgement. It wasn't medals or parades. It wasn't the kind of recognition that made headlines. It was something quieter, something real. Back to the mess hall. Later that afternoon, the mess hall buzzed again with life. Soldiers joked, laughed, and filled their trays with steaming food. Emily stood at her post, serving with her usual quiet diligence. But when the general entered, this time he didn't just walk past. He paused, caught her eye, and gave the smallest of nods. A gesture invisible to most, but one she would carry in her heart. Because sometimes, the greatest honor wasn't in being known by the world, it was in being seen by someone who understood. And in that moment, she wasn't just the cook in the mess hall anymore. She was Emily Carter, Phantom Unit 7. And someone finally remembered.